This is Brian Browning, Chindy Chekwa, All-American cornerback for the Ohio State University. This is our show, Believe in Buckeyes. We got some topics. We're gonna talk about some things. Chim, how you doing today, man? Man, it's kind of still snowing in Ohio, man. It kind of
Yeah,
sucks, man.
yeah. It's. I feel like Columbus always does this thing where it gives us a little taste of spring, but it just reminds us, no matter how, because it's been a mild winter. It's been a
Yeah,
mild
that
winter,
was my one.
but no matter how mild the winter, it just reminds us like we could still, it could still get cold here. So
Mm.
yeah, it's just the last little run of a reminder that this is still Ohio.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
And speaking of reminder, we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about Ohio State football. But just a reminder, and we are in the market for a running back coach as of last week, man. Our former running back coach decided to enter. I'm gonna say enter the transfer portal. Enter the transfer portal and decided to take whatever he could do to the team up north, man. So that kind of opens. We did an emergency show. I don't know. If you follow us, check us out on our page. But we had to do an emergency show in the middle of last week to kind of I don't know, I guess get that off our chest a little bit. But we made it through, right? But now we're back in the
Yeah.
market looking for some new talent to lead our talented group of running backs. What do you think of some of the names that's being thrown out there from was it DeMarco Murray, Robert Gillespie out of Alabama, Pepe Pearson, former Ohio State guy coaching at Tennessee State? What's your thoughts on those guys? And I don't know, you got some direction here on what you think the Buckeyes are going to do?
Yeah, I think all those guys are capable guys, and I think they come with good resumes. I like DeMarco Murray from a recruiting standpoint. You know what he's been able to do at the highest level, and being able to get him, I think would be a great get. But all those guys, I'm still holding out a little bit of hope for Scotty Graham.
Mm-hmm.
But I know he's
Yeah,
not
I know
he's
that's your
not
guy.
been in the he's not been in the circle of news. One thing, just to update, on our last show, we talked about Tony Alford decision to go to Michigan and potentially, is it the exact same position, or is it something else that enticed him? We found out that he got the run game coordinator position, which for a running backs coach, it's important for to get those titles to continue to advance your career. So a little added insight into his decision as well on why he left.
Yeah, yeah. So, and if you don't know, those little names or little titles that they throw, they mean a lot. I mean, it kind of usually means you're getting paid a little bit. They have the ability to pay you a little bit more money because of that title, and then it kind of sets you up for your next thing. Right, your run game coordinator. So now you might be qualified to be an offensive coordinator, and then offensive coordinator. You can go head coaching from there. So, I mean, Tony Alford is gone. Once again, I will repeat it. He has now lost that game, the big game, the rivalry 3 years in a row. And come November, it just better be 4 years in a row. That's all I got to say regarding that. But we got news, man. One of our guys, one of our NFL guys, former quarterback of Ohio State, Justin Fields, he's been over the news lately. He's been traded, going to the black and gold, the Steeler Nation, man. I mean, good, great for him. Great for him. I'm gonna let you speak on it, and I'm gonna say my piece on why I'm a little bit
Yeah.
upset about the situation. But what do you think about Justin Fields kind of, I don't know, jumping over a state, jumping over Indiana, Ohio, and landed to Pennsylvania for to prolong his career?
Yeah, I think it's a really good position for him to be in potentially, potentially, depending on how the Steelers. Obviously, a great organization, a very stable organization, which is almost night and day from where he came from. Right, there's a lot of instability, there's a lot of change happening. He won't get there here. He also has a veteran quarterback in Russell Wilson, and a guy who is likely to be a veteran. Right, because sometimes you have veteran quarterbacks, but it doesn't mean nothing because they're not, they're not going to show you the way. Russell Wilson, one thing for sure is that he's going to, really support Justin and try to, help him continue to come along. The one thing that I am cautiously concerned about is who they start, right? And I'm not talking about to start the season, but just throughout the season. I hope that they actually make a commitment to put Justin Fields out there as a starter at some point during the season and really see what they have in Justin Fields. I feel like, when sometimes when you have a head coach who's a defensive guy who leans on the defense and they win games on defense, sometimes they don't value that offensive position as much as they should. And they think we just need a guy who doesn't turn the ball over, who takes care, who knows what he's doing, et cetera, et cetera. But I think they have an opportunity to potentially get the most out of Justin Fields. And I like that he's in that division where Lamar Jackson's also in that division. And hopefully he can be somewhat of a comp to Lamar and what he's been able to do with his career.
Yeah, and yeah. So, like I said, I got black and gold on today, but let's not get it twisted. I am not a Steelers fan. I'm from Cleveland. Grew up a Browns fan, still a Browns fan. Watch all the Browns games, and obviously, we talk about rivalries a lot here on this show. It was between Ohio State and Michigan, and where me and you both went, undefeated 5-0 against that team up north. As a Browns fan, we're our main rivalry is the Steelers, and we historically we don't do too well in that game. So to see that they got such a great talent for such a cheap price and Justin Fields going to Pittsburgh, I think it's a win-win for Fields and the Steelers. But me being a bitter Browns fan is like, now we got to try to figure out how to contain Justin Fields here in the next 2 years, and I'm just not looking forward to it. Yeah. Not looking forward to it at all.
a 6th round pick, it's crazy. A former, I think he went 11th overall or something. A former top half of the first round level pick is traded for a 6th round pick. At a 6th round, I feel like every team should be in play at this point. Yeah. Like even if you have a starter, you don't need a starter for a backup, a young guy. Just from a value standpoint, 6th round pick, that wasn't a lot to give up.
Yeah, but one thing for sure about the NFL and their teams, they do not want quarterback controversy. It's something about it that you kind of can see guys like, well, why is he not in the league anymore? You know why? Because it would create quarterback controversy. You start talking about the Tim Tebow's and well, he's a great guy. Why wouldn't somebody just give him a shot to be on the team to, I don't know, be an H-back or something of the nature? You know why? Because he wants to play quarterback, and once you sign a guy like that, there's a quarterback controversy. Same thing you talk about Cam Newton. Like, Cam Newton's like, no, there's no way there's 50 guys in the NFL currently better than Cam Newton. You know why? Because Cam Newton's on that roster. It's a quarterback controversy. So the Bears, not wanting controversy, with their draft pick, decide to basically just give away Justin Fields. Man, it almost feels like they called the Steelers, like, hey, we got this great kid here on our roster that we need to kind of move on from. Could you please just take this guy from him? Minnesota's sitting up there. They don't have a quarterback. Like Kirk Cousins, they don't have a quarterback on their roster, and they don't get Justin Fields. Like, he go for a 6th round pick to the Steelers, man. So it's funny. It's funny how things like that kind of work out with it. I don't know, man. It's just weird sometimes how it can go.
Think about it though. It's like, because people are saying, well, all these teams didn't value Fields, but push that aside for a second. Minnesota didn't have a quarterback. Forget about how much you value him at this point, just for the depth. Right? It's a 6th round pick, a former 1st round pick. Right? It couldn't hurt to keep him. Or the Bears. The Bears, even if you're drafting Caleb Williams and you don't have no future plans for Justin Fields, it doesn't hurt to just keep him on the roster and figure, Caleb Williams gets hurt and he's out for his first year. Guess what? You still got a quarterback who, by the way, played last year and played solid. Yeah. It's crazy that the controversy at quarterback is such a
the NFL is just so weird sometimes with stuff like that. It's just like, I don't know. You just can't quite put your finger on it. It literally just don't make that. You can name teams. You say Minnesota's in the division. Like, what about the Raiders? Like, I don't know who's quarterbacking the Raiders right now. It's plenty of teams. The Patriots, right? But we can go down the list. But anyway, Fields is, I feel like, in a safe spot, like you said, a good spot, a place where he could develop. I feel like they would cherish him, and we Browns fans will have to deal with him for the years to come, man. But obviously, we got something going around Columbus. We have Pro Day this week. Pro Day is this week taking place at the Woody Hayes facility. So all our guys that's taking their leap from Ohio State to the NFL will be competing. I guess that's the way to say competing or showcasing their skills there.
Okay.
Obviously, leading the bunch is Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know if he's running a 40, but I read an article that said he does plan on participating. What do you think about Marv, him participating in Pro Day, and basically just everything that's kind of going around with him? Because there's a lot of hidden news, a lot. Like, is he still the number one guy? I mean, it's like questions on that. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. In terms of pro day, I don't think he needs to participate. I mean, he participated in pro day. I watched him participate in pro day. What was that last
Yeah.
year
Mm-hmm.
or maybe in the year before? Like at this point, we've seen you run enough routes, right? Does he need to run a 40? I don't think so. I've seen him run by guys on the field. Yeah, there's been, as you move towards the draft, the guy who was clearly number one, it starts to, people start to question. They start watching more film, try to figure out some stuff, and create some takes that they think nobody else can figure out. But yeah, the Malik Neighbors was another great talent. Him and Marv were the two that were kind of, I could say competing, but neck and neck when it came to that top receiver award. And there's been some scouts out there that really look at Malik Neighbors as probably the top receiver in the draft. And I disagree. Like I 100% disagree. And it's not, and I don't want to slight Neighbors, but it's more of just the fact that he's a raw talent, an explosive guy. If you watch the film, you might see a lot of more explosive plays to Malik. But it was plays designed. He's off the ball. He's in the slot. They're moving him around. He's running down the middle of the field. LSU had this explosive offense, right? It was almost like a video game offense. Receivers didn't run nothing, but it seemed like they didn't run nothing but curls and go routes. And it was just not as much polish when it comes to receiver. I think he still has some development to go and can continue to develop into a better receiver. But I think he's going to have some downside, right? Playing on the ball. I didn't think he was great getting off press. In and out of routes, I didn't think he ran the whole route tree. And Marvin Harrison, he has this. If there's one weakness I would say for him is that he's really light. He's really light for his size, right? He's like, I don't know, 6'3", 6'4", but he's only like close to like 200 pounds or whatever. So that's the one negative thing. But at the same time, to counter that is he's super quick, right? So now he's a tall guy, but he moves like a small guy, and he has so much polish in his routes. He uses his hands well. And one of the things, like as a corner, I always watch guys and try to, visualize, like, if I'm guarding this guy, what would I struggle?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What would be my challenge? Malik Neighbors, he's an explosive guy, and it's really just talent for talent. In my mind, if I can run with him, I'm good. He probably can, disrupt the zone coverage or something like that because of his speed and all that stuff. But when I watch Marv, it's like, dang, getting off a press, like, he's really good getting off the line. I got to be really careful at the line. And then in the middle, he has the speed to run away from you. So you got to be able to stay with him there. But then his in and out of his routes, he's really good. And then say you do everything right. You're in great position. Now it's just hard to beat him at the point of attack. And it's just like, man, that type of player, he's NFL ready today, right? You line him up today, he has a potential to be your number one wide receiver today. To play the X, to be on the line of scrimmage, get off press, and go get the ball. So I don't think it's really that close in terms of comparison. I think they're both first round talents. I don't think it's that close. And yeah, Marvin Harrison to me is just one of the greater rare prospects coming into the draft this year.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I agree, right? I think Marvin Harrison is just a very unique, special talent. His catch radius, to me, is just off the charts. Like, you just throw the ball anywhere near him, it's a great chance that he could just make the quarterback look well and be able to kind of make that play, make that catch. So, obviously, like you say, some guys are, tweeting and making articles on why they feel another guy might be actually the guy. I'm with you. Obviously, the draft is a weird thing. Who knows? who knows? Whoever ends up
Yeah.
with that, it looks like number one most likely will remain Caleb Williams, just after Justin Fields is traded, right? Or that quarterback, but whoever ends up in that 2, 3, 4, 5 spot, what they need, who they fall in love with. Teams sometimes just fall in love with a guy. They just kind of take him. But I feel
Yeah.
wholeheartedly that Marvin is definitely that number one guy there. But we'll see. But obviously, there's also been a lot of news and a lot of buzz going around our defensive tackle, Mike Hall Jr. He's usually he's a three technique type of guy, right? I mean, I don't see him playing too much of a nose or that one technique. He's usually going to be in a 3, 4 eye type of deal, so he can kind of have some space. But there's a lot of buzz around him, a lot of good buzz. A lot of people are saying that he kind of shows very good explosion and athleticism from that for his size and ability inside to maybe be a threat. Right now, he's kind of projected around the third round grade. But in your thoughts, a guy like that, what do you think he could end up being or landing here in the draft? And how can a pro day that's coming up in the next couple of days kind of can help him improve his roster, his draft status?
Yeah, so he did the Senior Bowl. I think a lot of the teams have already seen him in action, right? Obviously at Ohio State, but you got all the teams represented at the Senior Bowl. They see you one on ones. They get to see how you move. They get a better feel for you. I think the pro day is really that opportunity for him to show that his athleticism matches, his production and his movement and everything he can do on the field. I don't think it's something that really changes too much, but unless he just goes out there and he can't run, then it's like, But I think it's just a way for them to validate. Yeah, my call is interesting. I think to me, his talent, his production at Ohio State wasn't necessarily equal to his talent to me. And he's one of those guys. When I go to practice, I'm watching DBs really, DBs, receivers, etc., quarterback. But when the D lineman did one on ones, man, I wanted to watch him because you could just see his movement, his mobility, and his explosiveness off the ball, and it's really
Yeah.
good. Like it's really good. I think some scouts, talk about his size in terms of he's not a really big guy for his position, and he's not, fast enough or quick enough to be moved out to defensive end. So he's a little bit of a tweener. But outside of that, man, I think as teams continue to, based on what they've seen throughout this entire process, I think closer and closer to the draft, teams are going to, value him more and more as a potential
Yeah,
tackle.
when I first got into the NFL, my offensive line coach, his name was John Masco. He used to say, like, obviously watch a lot of defensive linemen. He said, if you're a good defensive lineman, wherever you projected to go in the draft, you go around up. And I think Mike Hall Jr. is in a perfect spot for that, where he might kind of sneak into that second round position, just due to if you're disruptive in the middle, it's just tough to deal with. I'm a former offensive lineman, right? Like you said, you kind of measure up wide receivers based on you being a cornerback.
Yeah.
Me being off the lineman, I measure up defensive linemen the same way, especially you kind of get to just kind of step away and kind of look at them. A guy that's disruptive in the middle of the field is almost essentially nothing you could do with him, right? We just seen the great Aaron Donald just retire after like a 10-year stretch of just really just terrifying off the linemen and quarterbacks throughout the league. And it's just when you're inside like that, it just get very tricky to kind of scheme on a guy that can always win a one-on-one. And Mike Hall Jr. is definitely one of those type of talents where he has the explosion, the strength to kind of just get on the edge of a guy and just continue to win repeatedly throughout the course of a game. Obviously, some things you need to work on. I believe I believe they're saying like maybe his hand placement, the way he plays with his hand could kind of change a little bit, do a little better there. But when you see him just kind of just come off the
Yeah.
line, I mean, I was like you say, it's just the senior day clips. Him just coming off the line, he's just so explosive. He's just got so much strength to his rush that he's going to be a handful to deal with. So if he can just kind of continue to work on those things, like I know he will, I think he would continue to have success. And it was funny enough that we say this, like he was literally the third defensive tackle this year, right? Like he wasn't even essentially known as the starter for the games, but we always knew, we know he was a great player, that he would play a lot. But that's just the type of talent we had in the defensive tackle room this year. That a guy like Mike Hall Jr. we could eventually come off the bench with him as a change up, and he could be very successful there as well. So yeah, so interesting to see how it could go. But yeah, we also want to kind of hit the other guys. I mean, obviously, we got a handful of guys that will be competing at pro day, and just kind of go over, I guess, what we think they're going to end up doing when it comes to the NFL draft. I believe all these guys would definitely be in camp, but obviously, we kind of could see them get in there in different ways. Starting off, I'm just going to shoot right down the list. Obviously, we talked about Marv. We talked about Mike Carr Jr. Mayan Williams is set to go out and showcase his talents there. A little iffy for him coming off an injury, but what are you thinking about Mayan Williams and for his potential draft? And you just kind of go fast and kind of get through all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, Mayan really is for him. He's likely going to go undrafted. He's a guy that's going to have to go to camp and be able to show what he could do when he gets there. I don't know how he's going to test, but I'm not expecting him to wow people in the testing either. He's going to be a guy who signs with the team. He's going to have to show what he can do.
Yeah, and right. When he was right for Ohio State, very productive. As we know, a couple of injuries last year, and it kind of basically had him missed the whole season. But we're looking, good luck and ready to see what he could do here this week and moving forward. Next is our tight end, Cade Stover. What's your thoughts where he may go into this draft? Him being a pretty athletic tight end, and we know he could definitely catch the ball.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think he's a mid-round guy, somewhere around third or fourth round, depending on how things shake out. His passing ability, his ability in the pass to get matched up against guys in the middle of the field, I think is going to be a high value to a lot of this team.
And with K, obviously we'll see how it goes, how things shake out, but obviously he would need to improve on blocking, or we would say lining up and blocking on the edge, but in the passing game he would definitely be special there. Next on the list is Matt Jones. I'm just gonna take that one, man. It's my O-line guy, man. I'm gonna take Matt Jones. Matt Jones, he'll probably be a late pick to free agency. That's basically what I'm seeing, and what's regarding NFL scouts and things. 7th round free agent type of guy, but I think it's kind of tricky with Matt because he showed actually in the bowl game that he could play center, right? He went out there, obviously the offensive line that had the greatest day against Missouri in the bowl game, but I don't think that was due to him. He snapped the ball well, he was able to move well, and we know that he has the versatility, obviously the usually at that guard position. He's a stout guy, so I feel like he could definitely kind of get some separation off the line of guys, get people moved around. He will need to kind of work on some lateral quickness when it comes to the passing game. But he's a guy to me that could definitely land on the team because, if you're not the top guy, the number one guy, the next thing is be able to do multiple things. And he already showed that he could do that. So looking forward to seeing him compete and things of that nature. Next is the one that's kind of tricky because we know this guy could play, but he has coming off an injury, and that's Tommy Eichenberg at the linebacker position. What's your thoughts on Tommy and where he might land in the NFL draft?
Yeah, super, super highly productive guy. So teams are going to like him. Athleticism, from an athleticism standpoint, I think that's probably his biggest negative. So I think he's somewhere around that 5th or 6th round. You get to a point where you need a guy who could be a potential starter for you, a highly productive player, but at the same time, you're not sure in terms of the athleticism. So I think somewhere around that 5th or 6th round, but I think he's
for sure. Guy. I agree. It's funny that going into the combine, he disclosed that he dislocated his elbow late into the season, and so obviously, dislocated elbow that takes some time. He was kind of Tom, he was trying to battle through it. Like, bro, you might need to, sit down a little bit. You're a linebacker with a dislocated elbow. But, that's right. Tommy being the leader he is and how much he cared for this team in this game that he tried to battle through it. And it seems like Coach Dave really just had to, shut him down. But injuries are kind of tricky with the draft, right? I mean, you want your guy to be healthy. If you're investing, the guarantee money once you draft him, you want the guy to be healthy. So hopefully things are fine with that elbow. Everything kind of checks out there. He can kind of continue on from there. Next on the list is Steele Chambers, his linebacker buddy. Steele went to the combine. I don't think he really did a ton, but So you'll expect to see him do a lot here at Pro Day, right? For Steele, what's your thoughts on Steele and his ability to kind of blossom with the draft?
Yeah, I think still Chambers is a pretty good athlete. I think he projects well as an athlete. Um, you got Eichenberg, who's probably the much more productive player. I think Steele is a guy who's a late round pick. I think he gets drafted. You think about a guy who could potentially be a starter at the next level as well as play special teams and be a valuable pickup one of the later
And
rounds.
remember, still kind of raw, right? He's a running back, right? He switched him back over to linebacker, and he went out there for the last couple of seasons and battled it out and was productive there as well. Next, we have Josh Proctor. Josh went to the combine. He ran a decent 40, what 4.5 40, which I think was
Yeah,
a pretty good 40
4.5.
for Josh Proctor. What are you thinking out of Josh and his chances here for the draft and pro day coming up?
Yeah, so Josh is a guy I'm rooting for because he's one of my players that I rooted for. He had a tough injury in college. Started out as a freshman. I thought he was a huge potential talent, and got back there in his senior year to be highly productive. I think he sneaks in. He's probably graded as an undrafted, guy. I think he sneaks into one of the late rounds based on his productivity, his testing. Hopefully, at the pro day, he can improve that 40 even more, just to show that he can be out there and playing just like Steel Chambers. If he could show he's a good athlete, he look at a guy who could potentially be a starter in the NFL, but also play special teams. So yeah, I'm thinking somewhere around that 6 or 7
Yeah.
round.
And then last on the list here is Jahai Carter, another safety who transferred over to Ohio State from Syracuse. Didn't see him on the field a ton, right? Was kind of expecting a little bit more before the season, but it seemed like our guys just kind of got better. And be honest, we really didn't, I guess, need him that much. But what are you expecting out of Jahai? Obviously, he had some good film coming out of Syracuse for us to be even excited about that guy, about him
Yeah.
coming over in the transfer portal.
Yeah, you think about it, his film is a Syracuse film. Like NFL teams are watching the Syracuse film because he didn't get a lot of playing time at Ohio State. He dealt with some injuries when he got here. He obviously probably would have projected higher had he stayed in Syracuse and stayed healthy as well. He'll be a guy who's undrafted. He'll get signed by someone, and he's going to have a little bit of an uphill battle, being that he didn't, his career didn't finish as strong as it started.
Yeah. But that's the list. I mean, I believe once again, just real quick, all these guys to me are going to play in the NFL. I think all these guys are definitely talented enough. The draft is tricky. It's funny. Sometimes weird things happen. So it just,
Yeah.
what happens there. But I think all these guys will definitely get picked up by a team, and we'll have a little bit more to add to their story when it comes to football. But that's our show for today. Once again, always check us out on the platforms, for the podcast platforms regarding Apple, Spotify. Always follow us on YouTube to tune into our show. And we will catch you guys next time. We're going to end our show as always with an OH. Go Bucks.
Ayo.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.